So now get ready to rethink your customers see, feel, and interact with your product. Moving to our next session, interesting title. Your users aren't stupid. How bad UX drives customers away. The speakers will highlight the critical role of UX and customer loyalty and growth, share real world examples, and provide actionable strategies for designing products that keep users coming back. So please welcome our esteemed speaker today. We have Jaythan Elam. He's the founder and CEO of Jointley, and Joanna. Oh, just kidding. You're gonna be solo today, right? Yep. Please welcome to the stage, Jaythan.
Hi, Jaythan Elam, CEO and founder of Jointly. We're a design and development firm. I'd love for Jack Douglas to come up here and assist, if at all possible. Brilliant individual that I've met here at the convention as well. Um,
Fitting because you helped us out in the opening uh, day. We didn't have enough people, so you helped, and so the closing day I helped. So
Appreciate that. Thank you. Can we get him a mic? Oh, thank you so much. Oh, please feel free to stop doing that. We don't need those. And if you want to have a seat, um, I have no need to stand. Um, now we don't have everybody here to do the entire panel, so there's no need to be super formal about it. And while that is one crazy title, we didn't come up with it. But the the point of the talk really is to be more interactive with the audience and for you guys to basically hit us up with information that maybe you have in your world where maybe you've experienced some issues with your site, your product, your digital life where you think maybe there are issues you can't figure out quite why your users aren't going where you want them to go. They're not landing on the pages you want them to land on. They're not interacting with your product in the way you want them to, and you can't quite figure out why. We would love to help come up with some solutions, direct you towards ways to solve that, or at least get numbers around why that might be the case. And if not, Jack and I are just going to talk about ways to do that up here between the two of us. But it would be probably way more productive if it involved us helping you get where you needed to go and generate the sales that you're hoping to generate. How did you do it at um, where you work, Jack?
yeah, so
Mike.
it's been an evolution, and so what we do now is we use different AIs to analyze our site for SEO, search engine optimization, GEO, which is generative engine optimization, which is the way AI agents go out and find your site. We look at latency, but most of the uh, OpenAI's Codex can do this, and so can Claude's by Anthropic. And so we ask generally like what the best version looks like, what are the standards that we want to match, and then we set that up as a test group, and then it goes through the site and will test the pages and tell us how fast they are, whether they're optimized so other AIs can find it, and things like that. Credibility
Right.
sources.
Okay, I'm gonna stop you there. I'm gonna first. Does anybody have this issue or want to know how to break that down? That was a lot of complicated stuff. I can't tell. I see some smiles, but I'm not exactly sure. Yeah, break it down. Okay. So you mentioned several things in there. And so let's first start with like how are you deciding what to measure what against? So for yourself and within your own industry, how did you know what to measure what you were getting against in the first place?
Well, so you have to know what good looks like. You need to know
Right.
what your competitors are doing. So we look at what the competitors are doing. We look at real
How
time.
did you find that information?
Uh, we use AI.
And you
So
and you asked it what?
yeah, you ask it. It's like, okay, well, what are my competitors? What is it they're doing? What are they doing that's getting traction? And then we like to look at social media to get more real-time feedback on what's trending, because things are moving so fast now that we generally update on 2-week cycles now based on what competitors are doing.
Okay, perfect. And was that, I don't know if that was clear or not, but you literally ask AI what is best for what industry are you, or is anybody in consulting? I would be a little more. There you go. So you would be specific on what that is, but you want to know what are the specific numbers that you should be measuring against for that. Question.
So I'm an esthetician, and so my thing is drawing in customers, consumers, and product. How can I apply that?
Ooh, I'll take the first stab of that. So first off, you would ask Claude, what are the base numbers for what you just said? Because estheticians should be getting in my area. I would be specific to area. I don't know if you feel the same, but that's how I would do it. I would want to know that, right? And if there are certain specific areas you're looking to break into, right? A new region or whatever, I would ask that information as well. Almost wanted to have those two separate numbers. What- She wants to know what the number of base numbers are. So in this case, we're measuring the amount of attention your site is getting. And we can say you can measure that in several different ways. Page views, time on site, bounce rate. Bounce rate is how quickly do they leave, right? Like let's bounce. So um great. So how do we measure those things? That would be through Google Analytics. If you don't have that set up, setting that up now is a better time than never. Um, some of that information is published publicly, and that's essentially what Claude or I I apologize for this mic. I don't know why. Um, operator error, folks. Um, yes, there you go. Those are very specific. And the more specific you can be, the better off you are when talking to an LLM. They're going to want to know some of those specifics. Claude specifically might even ask you questions to get you to be more specific based on what that you're asking it. Um, to answer your question again, if you haven't installed Google Analytics, which is free, all right, that's you go to analytics.google.com. It will walk you through it. It's easy, but it's annoying because Google doesn't make it as easy as they could. Honestly, it could be a lot easier. Um,
I agree with that.
thank you. Yeah, it just is. Um, it's very confusing how they've set it up. My organization is like that's kind of where we come in. We tend to do that. Um, for organizations, we set that up along with several other things in the process of setting a foundation for an organization or a company to make sure that they have that in place. So when they come back within a year, they have all that data ready for when they want to make changes. They may not even know we did it. They probably don't. They don't even remember, but it's there and it's set up and they're good to go. And in his case, right, he needs it using that data in order to expand upon other ideas. Um,
Right. A simple thing you can do is just search your name. Don't type in your website, just search your name in the search box and see how you come up. the way search is going to be done in the future is going to be AI agents are going to be finding your site. So it's very important to understand that and understand that your credibility that can be verified is going to be gold for you and your business. So that could be something like if you volunteer at the community center and you offer your services there, then and that's a something the newspaper picks up. Well, that's something you embed in your site, and all of a sudden you're an expert in your area. So when AIs are looking for it, they're going to recommend you before they're going to recommend your competitors, maybe, because you've done that.
Okay. All right. So I have a question. I have a product that I am soft launching, but then I want to kind of get some insight about the main launch that I'll be doing probably June or July for this product. It's a health tracking journal, and I work with high functioning fatigue business owners, founders, professional women in the midlife season. So, what would you suggest? Because I'm still building out that banner. I have a wait list, all of that for that now. So I wanted to do the soft launch. And then what would you suggest for the public launch?
Take that one.
If you can get somebody that will endorse or partner with you in an area that you don't have influence, that's a way to go up much quicker as far as your business, because trust is a big deal, and it's a bigger deal now than it's ever been before because we have AI. So we don't know what's real. Am I here? Am I a hologram? What is this? And so that's what people are thinking when they see something on the internet. So it's very important if you already have a trusted partner that has influence in the area you're trying to break through in, then that's going to get you ahead of other people.
From my perspective, I think you definitely want to do your basic searches for your audience. You want to get those out of the way, and you want to know what to expect. You can set up, um, you can set up, like monitors for those, and to get emails back based on how those perform. So that's one way to kind of see how that's rolling out. It's basically just a keyword monitor. That's also you can set that up, via Claude or something like that as like a little skill if you wanted to do it that way. There's lots of ways you could go through it, but basically you're trying to just monitor what's happening on the web in these sectors so that way you know what's going on. Um, the soft launch is really just more of it's really out there, but we didn't tell anybody, and except for family and friends.
Well, it's more within my community because I do have a podcast. So it's several hundred people,
Sure.
but it just kind of, that was my plan, my launch plan, start soft,
Right.
get my feet
And
wet.
it's a good one. I completely endorse that. We do soft launches as well. I would just make sure that your analytics is hooked up for that, so you can see how that performs. And I personally would say, go back through after you've soft launched, within a week or so, and do some user testing on that audience. Sometimes issues arise that you might not know that were there, or awesome things arise that you did not know were there that you want to maybe call out later. Um, you wouldn't know unless you actually hit people and find that stuff out. So we do a lot of user testing. So
Thank you.
yeah,
I have a question as well when you're ready.
yeah, go ahead.
Um, so as far as the SEO optimization, when I put my name in Google, my website is the first one that comes up because the website is my name. However, I'm also want to be able to attract, I have a medical practice, but I also do virtual coaching that's, global. I have a special niche for type 2 diabetes reversal. So how do I get higher up on the SEO chain for people who are looking for a diabetes reversal solutions or coaching and don't necessarily know me yet? So how can I get my website higher up on that chain?
are you certain those individuals are finding their solution that way?
I mean, people look on the internet for everything, right? So some people, if they just search diabetes reversal, I want my name to come up high on the list.
Okay. There there are still ways to be able to accomplish that from an SEO perspective, that your existing site is certainly doing. You want to make sure that your site code is organized semantically.
What does that mean for a
Yeah,
non-tech
that's a
person?
great question. I just use an annoying word. I knew the minute I said it, I was like, oh, I'm gonna have to explain that one.
Translation.
Yeah, yeah. Um, Semantic arrangement. So the way the HTML for sites can be built today, right? Within the HTML, you can now have, header actually say header, nav actually says nav. You've got, your title, H1, H2, H3, H4, H5. All of those coded elements are in a certain arrangement and collection. The section of the page, is sections. I can even show you an example of it, after, if you want to come grab me. But and within each of those, right, there's like a certain beauty to the way that code looks, and how it like breaks down. That's how, website crawlers, like once that's arranged and written in such a way, like those
So it's
crawlers are
something that
able.
has to be set up on the back end in my website. Is that what you mean?
uh well, that's still the front end, but yes, that
Front end.
yeah,
Okay.
it needs to be written in such a way that those things can read it really well.
Is that something that somebody who's not tech savvy can do on their own, or do I need to
It is. There
Yeah.
are platforms that, when you build on them, they're doing it for you automatically. Yes.
Like what?
um we use Webflow as a partner. Some of the other existing sites do this as well. I think Squarespace will do this. um I'm some of the other, like, you're kind of restricted via like their template structure and what they have to offer creatively, but it will do it. Yeah. um as you can tell, I'm not a huge fan of those, so I'm
You
not gonna.
also need to make sure that your business has been verified as a Google business profile. It's a basic thing, but if you haven't confirmed your phone number, then that you get dinged for that.
Yeah, he's not wrong there. Like, if you haven't set up your business profile with Google, I mean, that's another big one, even if you're online only.
So that's just in the Google account.
Yes.
Go to that
Yeah, there is
section,
a
your
business
settings, your
profile inside your
business
your
profile.
Google account.
Yeah, Google business profile.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then people can't leave you Google reviews until you have that as well,
Exactly.
right?
Exactly.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Um, the only reason I asked that first question about, are you sure your customers for those products are finding you, or want to find you that way, is because a large number of people, and it will only increase, it will not decrease, are finding who they want to shop with, and the products they want to buy, not from going to Google, but by going to OpenAI or Claude and searching for that thing there. And if your site is not helping you be prepared for that environment, that's a larger problem, and from my perspective. In order to have your site, or structure set up for that, like, that's a huge miss. um, if you're not, like, setting your site up with a JSON file of its structure and uploading it, or the platform you're building on isn't doing it for you, you're in trouble. So
Okay, so when you brought up Google, that made a question. What do you think about the Google ads? Because I have a business profile. I don't have reviews as of yet because with what I do, I generally, it's difficult for
yeah.
people to want to leave reviews, but that is something I'm wanting to look more into. But what do you think? I'm constantly getting the email on, you've got a $500 Google ad credit. Like, what's your take on all of that?
Do you feel like your client base or the type of clients that look for your business that way?
I have actually had more clients from Google and AI searches than Facebook, social media, any of that.
Okay.
So
Well,
it's
from
making me start
searches or from
thinking
ads?
searches.
Okay, there's a
Yeah.
difference,
Yes.
and I think that's key. Personally, I don't know how you feel about it. There are some businesses that are better equipped to be found via an ad. I think it sounds like you have a very similar business to mine, um, and I also looked into the same situation. I just didn't feel like I was going to be reaching CEOs through like a Google ad that was randomly popping up while they were just one day searching on the internet for golf clubs. Maybe, but it just didn't seem like like putting the time and effort there was going to be worth it for me, and so I didn't. Um, I could be very wrong on all of this, but I don't think I
Well,
am.
and it's changing fast because the people that were spending a lot on Google ads are getting less of a result because their sites are not optimized for the AI agents to find them. So like for example, Google has got Gemini now. So it will summarize the results for you. So instead of you going through and looking at a bunch of blue links that you're going to pick like a traditional, I'm going to pay for this ad and I will show up when people are looking for something. It's not showing up like it was before.
Yeah, and those people are not happy about it actually, right? Like the fact that it will summarize your results at the top in that Gemini section and prevent people, and it does me. I mean, I would rather read that than the results. Like from scrolling through all those pages is a complete upender of an entire economy, which is Google Ads. So, and that's why I do suggest that you look into or solve that issue with your product and site as soon as possible. Otherwise, you're not going to be found. The AI agents are not going to recommend you, to people who are looking for your product, right? That's where you want to show up. So, what else we got? That all sounded like gloom
The
and
other
doom.
thing is, and we mentioned this in the first group that we had, that you can ask ChatGPT or whatever AI you use, put your website in there and say, what calculator can I put on my website that'll be a valuable thing to my target audience? Because if you give somebody something that gives them value, then when they really need it, when they decide they're going to pay for your service or take it to the next level, they're going to think of you first because you thought of putting this very helpful calculator on your site. And that's pretty straightforward. And probably AI would even create it for you as HTML and you could paste it into one of your pages if you have access to that.
Yeah, and we actually had a woman do that in that talk that we were discussing. She was sitting right here. She was like, how would I get that to work?" And we were just like, "Well, just ask, Claude to build that for you." And from her phone, sitting here, like it did it, built it. She had it in code ready to go, and she was like, "Oh my god, I can add this to my site right here." We're like, "Yeah, you're good to go," from her phone. So like we're in the age where if you're not providing value to the user any other way than just spouting information that anybody could just make up, you're not providing value. You literally have to be creating something that your users want to use, that refers to your brand in some capacity, that gives them value and feels like you're treating them like a human and creating trust. This is a good thing.
And you would have link backs to if you have any positive news, like a good review on social media, for example. You want to link that back to your site because those are credibility signals, and that's what AI agents are looking for is credibility signals. And I'll mention one other thing as far as the structure of the site. what AI agents are looking for are like atomic blocks. So a statement or a question or a problem, and then the solution underneath it.
How
What
do
else
you
we got?
build the HTML link into the website? Where do you put that? Like, it's not something that's visible on the page, right? You said putting the pasting the HTML to the website. How do you do that?
If I would guess if you hadn't done that before, do you have access to get to the back end of your website?
Yes.
Well, maybe just find me after this is over. I'll
Yeah, we
do
can
it
help you
for
with
you.
that.
Okay,
And then
thank you.
and you can watch me and you know how to do it. I think it'd be easier
Awesome.
Yeah.
to do it than to explain it.
Thank you.
If we had a way to hook up, we could just do it here live, I guess. That'd be fun.
Normally, that's what I normally do
Yeah.
when I do a presentation. I'll ask and kind of take a poll from the audience.
Yeah.
And then people nominate what they want to see built, and I'll build the app live. And
Yeah.
we'll vote on the nominations,
Yeah.
and then I build the app live there.
That's fun.
Yeah.
Jack's so fun. Right?
I'm a visual learner. I like that.
Right? Yeah.
So like the lady that you mentioned in
Yeah.
the first talk, she came up to me this morning and told me her husband told me about an app idea that they had. Well, I basically took it off the website, created a video explaining the app and a blog about it, and then created the app.
Nice.
So we
Nice
all
job,
have
Jack.
these capabilities here. You just don't know that you have them yet
Yeah.
because the technology has moved way faster than people have realized.
Yeah, that's true. I just did this with a bunch of college students, art students, for over 3 days. I had them come up with ideas on how to, ideate on a product. They were able to visualize it, of course, but then I was like, "Hey, that's only half the book. We're only halfway through. Like, you've got to actually build this for real." I think that's when the reality hit the wall for a lot of them. They're like, "What do you mean?" I'm like, "Well, where's this data coming from for this weather thing that you just built?" And they were like, "I don't know. That's not my problem." I was like, "It is today." So that became a real thing that just kind of blew a lot of their minds. Like, well, where am I getting that? Well, did you try asking Claude? I mean, there are places where you can get free data on weather that's just being published for whatever region you're looking for. Sure enough, like, that group found it, got Claude to hook it in, and off they went. And now we have working real world products. That was pretty, like, mind blowing for students who were able to actually design and envision a product, but had never been told that they could really create the other end. And we ended up with some projects that literally felt like end of the line products that could go out to market after that. Like, the university didn't know what to do with it. And that's just designers. Like, we have a whole room of entrepreneurs right here that can do this, with their own power. So this really wasn't meant to be a talk about AI, but we really kind of went that way, didn't we?
I think people just want to know how to make their business. I think everybody here just wants to figure out how to get more customers and better quality interactions and all the same things. AI is just a tool. I don't recommend leading with AI because there's a lot of AI haters, but it's technology. It is a tool. It's very powerful.
I would agree with that. In our organization, we tend to do a lot of myth busting on AI, because when clients come to us, they think, well, I mean, slap a chat window on my site or on my product, and a lot of the times when we do incorporate AI, it's solving operational problems on the back end, for them as they are growing, or finding new ways to use AI and other interesting ways to crunch data for their team. It's not the forward facing thing that you would think of. You don't have to stand in the doorway. Come on in. Come on. What else we got? Yes. We could totally talk about UX design. I think that's what we're supposed to be talking about. Okay, what about it?
Five to 10 UX. All right. Give us the top 5 to 10 UX must-haves, trends, and must-not-haves of 2026.
Yeah, that's a good one. UX stands for user experience, and it covers both, like, how the user both interacts with your website or your product online, also visual as well. I would say that more brand focus than less. You're seeing a return to that because of AI. At least we are. Um, uh, a lot of how we work is showing brands how they can infuse that back into design systems in a way that is very holistic. Um, and but it's hard if you don't know how to do that in a systematic way, and in a way that can scale. I mean, it can go off the deep end pretty fast. So that's one. There are certainly visual trends that are pretty hot, but from a user experience perspective, like motion is if you're not including motion on your site in some capacity, you're not really you're not doing a very good job fishing. Everybody wants motion of some type. There are varying levels of how much motion they want to include, right? Some is I like for all the elements on the screen to sort of fade in as the person's scrolling down. I want it, others are like, man, I really want things to animate in such a unique way. And when you get there, like there's a description of how my process or my product works, and that's animated too. And man, the animation, it's got to be all over the place. So there's varying degrees of this, but with the advent of like better JavaScript libraries and better tools, to build those animations, people are starting to expect that premium level of animation of some type to be included in their product. And if they don't have it, then they don't feel like we are standing out from the everyday template. And rightly, they kind of should. Um, no one wants to feel like their site was AI generated or appears to be AI generated, because you're starting to see a lot of that. You're starting to see a lot of sites from people who are just vibe coding something, which is another term I'm sure everyone has heard to some degree. And no one wants to feel like they fall into that category. Um, so there's a lot of how do we stand out from that?
What are the tells of a vibe-coded AI-generated site?
Yeah, good question. A lot of a lot of AI generated websites are going to base a, a lot of what they know to build off of just basic UI frameworks, user interface frameworks, things like Shad CN or Material UI. There's a whole slew of these. Some are better than others at being able to handle it. There's nothing wrong with it with UI frameworks at all. Like, they're brilliant. We use them too. It's how you use them, right? We use them as a starting point. You can think about it like uh we use baking terms a lot at work, so it's like a bread starter. Not your finished product. That's not bread, but a lot of people think it's bread. So you don't that's not bread, but some people will serve it to you and they think that it is. And so the end result there is you feel like you've got raw materials served to you as bread, straight out of the UI kit. And they're reused, they're repetitive, and they're not done in such a way that feels very creative. um, if you are using them as a starter, then you're using them to start literally to create a structure a scaffolding, and you're overlaying brand, you're overlaying creativity, direction, and inspiration on top of it. And from there, you have something new. You have something proprietary. That's what people are looking for the most. And that's usually what people pay the most for, also.
Speed is very important. People are impatient. If they click on something and they don't get what they want in a second or 2 seconds, 3 seconds, they're on to something else. So you can make something that's awesome for you looking at it there, but you need to make sure that it's loading so that people are getting to be able to see it. And architecturally, you have to make decisions about how you handle the videos, and is that dragging your site down? Do you want to embed videos that are on YouTube, or are you going to do it a different way? And these are things that'll affect the speed of your site.
There's some ways to counterbalance some of that, just by having some like, depending on who you work for, just like some standards in place to help like solve some of those things. Like my organization, we've got ways to like handle some of those things. Not all, but like at least from across the board, we've got like, here's how we would solve some of that. Depending on where you're building also has limitations that matters. Speed is a thing, and while I do agree with my handsome friend Jack here, um, there is something to be said for doing certain things slowly, and branding is one of those. While we do it very quickly, we still do it most of it by hand, and there's a certain element of that while we could just throw some ideas in AI and have it spit them back out at us, um, is lacking soul, which can't be replicated. Um, and whether you feel differently about that or not, it's entirely up to you guys. I'm not poo-pooing on logo generators. They're great for what they are. But if you're looking for branding that says something more about who you are, it's best to use another person who can learn what that is personally and then express that in a personal way. That's going to get you there much faster than trying to teach a machine how to figure it out. However, there are other ways to use AI that like what we have used to speed up the process of actually building products. So once we have that brand in place, we've been able to use that to then create a proprietary design system, an actual end product in roughly 2 weeks using AI. For us, that's pretty damn fast. Um, and that's specific to a brand, and that's specific to anybody. We can replicate that across the board. That used to be 6 months or longer, and we've compressed that into about 2 weeks. And that's not skipping any steps. That's literally just giving AI all the steps, and it squishes it down like a Scooby Doo. So there we go. That works.
Question. So, in this day and age of like, vibe coding and also platforms where you can just spin up apps, just generate apps in general, right? How would you kind of like account for, one, usability and two, user experience? Like, how do you maintain that, when you're just, kind of spinning up apps just like that,
Yeah, that's a great question.
You've got to have alpha testers. You got to hit friends. You send it out to family members, and they'll tell you what you need to hear. You just got to listen to them.
Yeah, you can't go wrong, with having actual, alpha and beta testers. We have, however, built in the was it the WCAG usability guidelines into what our product builds products with, so it has those limitations and will not crank something out that defies that. So some of like AA limitations you can use as basically as levers and go, don't give me something that comes back that someone with blindness can't see, or green red color blindness can't see, or things like that. So there are some things you can cover, but not everything, and that's where putting it in front of another human can't go wrong. But you can stress test some things, which is helpful. It speeds things up a little bit, but not 100%.
And we have AI agents that check for all those things before we send it out for testing to make sure that we're in compliance, depending on what vertical we're in.
Yeah, and I mean that's been one of the best uses of it too. It checks and gets things that you might even a human might miss, right? Like we'll make allowances for as long as the user experience works. We might make allowances for the visual, things like that. Are we at time? I think we're at time. My handsome friend, everybody give it a hand for Jack. Stepped in out of nowhere.